Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Health Made Easy. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Jones, and today, man, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think we've touched on briefly before, just sort of in passing, but not really took a deep dive into it. And quite frankly, it's one of those topics where I think this applies to most people, and it's a deficiency that most of us should not have at all, but nobody breaks it down in terms of, how do you do it? What are the best sources? And how much am I actually supposed to have? So, we're going to be touching on the massive macronutrient of protein. And the question always becomes, well, how much should I be eating? And what are some good sources of that? Because protein is an important part of every single diet. It's essential for all cell formation and repair. It's a major component of muscle, bone, skin, organs, nails, and hair. But what is protein? Protein is a macronutrient that is made up of long chains of amino acids. It's one of the three macronutrients that the body requires in very large amounts. And the other two, of course, are carbohydrates and fats. Basically, there are 20 amino acids. And you can check all of those out. But the basics: arginine, alanine, cysteine. And on and on and on. There's 20 of them, but the specific order of these amino acids determines the structure and the function of each particular protein. Now, an adequate amount of protein is needed for keeping the bones, muscles, and tissues healthy. Protein plays a major function in many body processes, things like fluid balance, blood clotting, hormones, immune system function and immune system responses, enzymatic activities, and even vision. So, what are some good sources of protein? Now, there's both plant and animal foods that are great sources of protein, and they each have their pluses. So, you've got lean meats, you've got poultry, which is going to be so your lean meats are going to be your beef and your fish, but then you're also going to have seafood. You've got eggs, you've got nuts, you've got legumes, which include peas and beans. But then you also have seeds as well. Some other sources of protein are things like dairy products, cheese, milk, and yogurt, but just depends on if you're sensitive to those or not. Vegetables and whole grains also contain some protein content, but if you don't combine them properly, you are going to get inadequate sources of amino acids. Now, how much protein should we be eating? Now, you need to get an adequate amount of protein every single day to maintain optimum health. Now, not getting enough protein would definitely affect your body's composition and overall health. Now, I'm going to give you some of the basic guidelines that are given out by some of the government agencies. And I'm going to just start by saying these are ridiculous. Pretty much these are just so that you can sustain life and just like sort of barely survive. But the dietary reference intake is like zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or basically 0.36 grams per pound. And this means that the average sedentary man should have 56 grams of protein per day, and the average sedentary woman should have 46 grams. Now, most people, they can't even sustain their muscle mass on anything of that sort. So, with that being said, if you want to determine your particular daily protein intake, then you can simply multiply your weight, by those particular numbers that I just gave. However, the amount of protein that you need really depends on many factors. It's your age, your activity level, maybe what your physique goals are, what your muscle mass is, your overall health. So protein deficiency also can cause a lot of malnutrition type conditions as well. And if you don't get enough protein in, you also can suffer from things like edema or swelling, weak muscle tone, skin lesions, thin or brittle hair, hormone imbalance, loss of muscle mass in adults, growth deficits in children. But then when you look at these effects of poor protein intake, some tips that you can use for getting enough protein in your diet include one good source of protein with every meal and snack. You can add peas and beans to soups and salads and other side dishes. Excuse me. Replace a carbohydrate source with a protein, such as swapping toast out for an egg in the morning. You can check your labels before adding protein bars to your diet because they can be really high in sugar. Try use different cooking methods that exclude extra fat in the diet, such as grilling, and then choose nutrient-rich foods in place of processed foods. So to kind of summarize all this stuff, protein is super duper important. It is the main driver for your metabolism. You probably need way more than you think you do. I walk around every day, right around 180 pounds, somewhere between 175 and 180 pounds. And because of my activity level and the other activities that I participate in outside of my physical job that I do, I'm going to consume about 200 grams per day of protein. So do the math on that for yourself, and you probably need a lot more than you think you do. So hope this helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to take that to our Facebook page. You can also DM me on Instagram, and then we'll see you guys on the next podcast. Bye-bye.